La semana pasada, la viuda de mi hermano, Linda, se volvió a casar. Se casó con un buen hombre y creo que serán felices juntos. Hace 9 años, su marido, mi hermano, Miguel, murió en un accidente aéreo y ella y sus 5 hijos quedaron destrozados por la pérdida. Todos lo sentimos profundamente, ¿no? Solo tenía 51 años y en aquel momento parecía el fin del mundo. ¿Qué se hace con ese tipo de dolor? Mi cuñada no quería contarnos lo del compromiso porque temía no respetar la memoria de mi hermano. Ella y mi hermano tenían una amistad maravillosa y un matrimonio sólido. Y el hecho de que ella se vuelva a casar no cambia el pasado feliz que compartieron. La vida es larga y las cosas cambian y Dios tiene preparado algo más para todos nosotros. Muchos de nosotros hemos estado en momentos de nuestra vida llenos de tanta oscuridad que hemos olvidado que la luz es pasible. Mueren miembros de nuestra familia, o sufrimos alguna enfermedad, o se destruyen nuestros sueños para nuestros hijos. Una y otra vez nos encontramos en la oscuridad, tanta oscuridad que confundimos un giro en el camino con el final del camino. Un error fácil de cometer. Una de las verdades centrales del Evangelio es que nuestra historia no termina en la oscuridad. Puede que tengamos tiempos oscuros, pero pasan. Incluso cuando pensamos que ha llegado el final, no es así. La vida, muerte y resurrección de Jesús nos dice esta verdad, al igual que su ministerio. Tanto la mujer con hemorragia como Jairo son modelos maravillosos para nosotros porque son ejemplos de esperanza. Esperanza de que el mundo puede cambiar. Uno lleva mucho tiempo viviendo con sufrimiento y el otro ha experimentado una pérdida repentina que es devastadora. Tanta oscuridad, pero aún así tienen esperanza. La tienen en la mano a Jesús y esperan la historia no haya terminado para ellos. Y la historia de nuestra vida tampoco ha terminado. Hemos sido salvados de la muerte y salvados para la vida eterna. La oscuridad que experimentamos hoy pasará mañana. Podemos recordar todas esas veces que Jesús cambió nuestras vidas y nuestra oscuridad. Se convirtió en un recuerdo y no es una condición permanente. Nosotros también podemos buscar a Jesús en nuestras oraciones, en las escrituras y en la comunidad. Nosotros también podemos acercarnos a Jesús sabiendo que incluso tocar el borde de su manto nos traerá vida. In the late 1890s, Marie Drouet and her husband decided to move to Hollywood. And Hollywood at that time was more of a commercial sort of speculation. That's changed, right? But at that time, it was this community about 10 miles east of Los Angeles. And the Drouets moved and built a house on the corner of what is now Sunset and Cahuenga. Kind of a large house. And Maria arrives there, and she wonders where there's a Catholic church. And she was told, there are no Catholics in Hollywood. Maybe that was the first time they heard that, but I mean, people still say that. And she said, well, okay. But she lived there for a while and thought, that is not true. That is not true. There are Catholics. And so she eventually got a group together, well, rather quickly got a group together, and her upstairs was kind of a large room. And so she invited a priest from Los Angeles to come to Hollywood and to say the first Mass. And that was in 1903. And so quickly, about 24 families got together and got motivated and kept bringing in a priest. And then they eventually built a church. And it was located on Prospect, which is now Hollywood, and Cherokee, so not far from here. They built the church. They got it going, ready to go. And it was staffed by the archdiocese. Obviously, it wasn't archdiocese then, but the regular diocese. And it was staffed by Father Murphy. Father Murphy, an incredible character, and he just did everything, including the gardening and the preaching and all of it. But then he passed away suddenly. We were like 11 or 12, 1911, 1912. And so they were left, and they put in an interim, and things kind of got rocky. And then through some conversations with the Society of Jesus, on August 13th, 1914, the bishop entrusted Blessed Sacrament, the parish, to the Society of Jesus, to the Jesuits. So we were invited into a community already things happening, church, everything going on, but we were invited in to work there. And the Jesuits were doing several things in Los Angeles at the time. And so they put in Father Dini, who, as though he didn't have enough to do, he was already president of what became Loyola College, that became Loyola High School and the University, or the Loyola part of Loyola Marymount. So that was starting as well. So in Jesuit fashion, they decided to give him more jobs. And he was not only the president of one new school, but the president of this parish with associates. And so that lasted a year. He put up with it for a year, And then there was a rotating cast of characters of 2, 3, 4 years. Jesuits would come into the community, serve, and then they always, the community was growing and building and doing things, and the Jesuits got to be part of it, not starting it, right? Got to be part of it. There were some exceptions historically of longer terms. Father Cornelius McCoy arrived here in 1932. Great time to take on a parish, right? 1932. And he served till 1957. He'd already been president of Santa Clara and rebuilt a burnt down mission, and they sent him here. So he had this really long run and helped finish the new church, where they moved. They had moved prior to his arrival. They built this church. The community did all this, right? The community. And the Jesuits show up and help out. And then there were some other notable kind of longish terms. Father Mike Mandala was here, 98 to 2011. That was a long stretch and certainly an important piece. Dr. Yolanda Brown was a parish life director who was here almost 10 years. So there were some longer pieces of service throughout that. But through this 110 years, there was a school built, served, and then it changed, demographics changed. Social services came about. The parish became known for its help to the poor, disadvantaged. That came about because of the community. All kinds of different programs, early HIV work, just a long list of accomplishments that the community continued to do, including adding a Spanish Mass in 1980 and continuing to be part of those communities as well, Spanish-speaking communities, and all sorts of things that make up Hollywood. So that has been incredible, right? Now, I don't know what inspired Marie Drouet. I don't know if she was reading the gospel and said, I want to be like Jesus, so I'm going to start a church. Probably not. I mean, she was probably a Christian looking for mass, right? She started that. I don't know what inspired her. But I do know what inspires Jesuits and what inspired our founder. Often religious orders are started by someone who's inspired by not the entire life of Christ, but particular parts, right? So if you're inspired by Jesus withdrawing and going to a secluded place to pray, you might think, oh, let's start a group that withdraws from common society and prays. So monastics or monks, that sort of thing. The Jesuits continue to be inspired by Jesus in his apostolic work, doing all those things, like this day that we just heard about. Well, an hour in a day of we just heard about. That Jesus arrives, gets off the boat, he starts teaching, someone comes up, my daughter's sick, he's like, okay, I'm coming to you, and then he gets stopped on the way, happens all the time, right? And someone else has another, there's more suffering, and he heals this woman kind of by accident, which is great, and then he continues on, and then raises this girl back to life, and that's like an hour of his very busy day. That is what inspires Jesuits. That's what most Jesuits are like, yeah, that seems like a good day. No. Because we get to see Jesus always moving towards people, right? Always embracing reality, always like going towards it. And this is just one of the gospel stories where you see this going towards. Jesus is going towards people. God is always coming towards us first. The incarnation is God reaching out to us, right, first. And then we see people coming to Jesus. Jairus with a daughter who is sick, is at his wit's end, so comes to Jesus. The woman who's been suffering just wants to touch his cloak and it'll be enough, right? That come towards him. But this action of going towards people is what often informs what Jesuits do. And it is a sad reality. There are not enough of us to continue to go forward all the places we want to, right? But I do not want this moment to pass without being able to presume to speak on behalf of 110 years of Jesuits. And it's always been, it's always a circus, who knows? But there's always a group of people here helping and serving and moving towards people. Because what something like Blessed Sacrament does for us is it gives us some place to serve, some place to pour out our gifts, which is kind of what we all want, right? We all want a place to give what we've been given, give all those things that we know people need and want. And this has been an opportunity for us to go forward and towards. So, as this community continues on this trajectory that started with Marie Drouet saying, "Where are the Catholics?" to whatever's next, I hope this community continues to move towards one another and towards need in the world, towards those places where there's suffering and darkness, moving towards always saying, this is the Jesus that we follow. This is the Christ that gives us life.